Jean stood on the porch of the house he once called home. It was quiet to quiet. Next to him were two suitcases, not packed for a trip, not filled with dreams, but filled with rejection. His whole life stuffed into bags, and behind that locked front door was the woman he loved, now a stranger. Inside, his wife Vanessa was laughing, music playing, drinks pouring. She had just won the lottery, $9 million. But instead of sharing the joy with James, she told him to leave. No explanation, no argument, just cold words. This house is mine now, you should go. James didn't scream. He didn't cry, not yet. He just stood there trying to make sense of it. They weren't perfect, no couple is. But this didn't feel real. Remembered the first time he met her. College. She was smart, beautiful, ambitious, studying finance with big dreams. He worked two part-time jobs, mornings in the cafeteria, evenings at a gas station just to afford his tuition. They were different. Yes, she came from money. He came from nothing. But love, he thought, didn't care about that. Her family did. Her mother, Eleanor, never liked James. He's beneath you, she had said. He just wants your money. When they got engaged, Eleanor forced James to sign a prenup. If you love her, you'll sign, she said. And he did, without a fight, because he loved her, not her bank account. Years passed. They built a small life together, nothing fancy, but full of memories. Cheap date nights, movie marathons, Sunday pancakes, real love. At least that's what James thought. Everything changed the day the winning numbers matched their ticket. Vanessa had screamed with joy. She hugged him briefly and called her mother first, not James, not her husband, her mother. From that moment, Vanessa changed. She started dressing differently, designer heels, gold jewelry. A new car appeared in the driveway. She stopped cooking, stopped talking, stopped caring. James tried to talk to her. What's going on, Vanessa? I'm busy, she'd snap. We should celebrate together. It's my money, she'd say without looking up from her phone. And then, one morning, she said it. You should pack your things. I want space. He thought she meant a break, a breather. But when he came home that evening, the locks had been changed. His name removed from the mailbox. A note stuck to the door. Don't make a scene. Just leave. So there he stood, two suitcases, and a heart full of questions. He sat on the porch, steps for hours, watching the sun disappear behind the rooftops. Every light in the house turned on, but none of them were for him. His phone buzzed. Anthony, his best friend since high school, a lawyer, loyal to the bone. James answered, his voice shaking. She kicked me out, man. She really did it. Anthony didn't ask questions. He just said, where are you? I'm coming. 15 minutes later, headlights pulled up. Anthony stepped out, took one look at James, and shook his head. She didn't even let you take your guitar? James laughed bitterly. Nope, just these. He kicked one suitcase gently. Come on, Anthony said. Let's get you somewhere warm. That night, in Anthony's small apartment, James told him everything, from the lottery win to the cold shoulder, to the locked door. Anthony listened, quietly, patiently, like a brother would. Then he asked a simple question. Do you remember the prenup? James sighed. Of course I do. I signed away everything before we even got married. Anthony smiled slightly. Not quite. There's a clause. Anything gained during the marriage, anything significant, has to be shared. That includes the lottery money. James blinked. Wait, are you serious? Anthony nodded. She can't legally kick you out with nothing. Not if that ticket was bought while you were still married. For the first time in days, James felt something. A flicker of hope, a spark, but deep down, he knew this wouldn't be easy. And at WAS and single quotes T. The very next day, Anthony filed paperwork to contest the prenup based on the shared asset clause. And just like that, the storm began. Eleanor stormed into Anthony's office 2 days later. How dare you drag my daughter into court, she shouted. She gave that man the best years of her life. And now he wants her money? He was nothing. Before Vanessa, James stayed quiet in the corner. Anthony answered calmly, "Ma'am, we're simply asking for what the law allows." Her eyes turned to James, burning with disgust. "You should walk away now," she said, "or regret it." But James didn't walk away because this time he wasn't fighting for money. He was fighting for his dignity. Then came the real attacks. Their joint bank account, emptied, a job offer James had lined up, revoked without reason, and then a restraining order filed by Vanessa, claiming James was violent, dangerous, full of lies. James felt crushed. "I don't even know who she is anymore," he whispered to Anthony one night. "I loved her. I never hit her. I never even raised my voice." Anthony placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're not crazy. You're not alone, and we're going to win this." But James wasn't so sure. The world seemed stacked against him. One night, he stared at the ceiling from Anthony's couch, wondering, is this what love becomes when money walks in the room? But even in that darkness, a fire was building. James didn't want revenge. He wanted justice, not just for himself, but for every man or woman who had ever been thrown away like they were nothing. And deep in his heart, he made a promise. "I won't go quietly. Not this time." The courtroom was cold, not from the air conditioner but from the stares, the whispers, the silence that fell every time James entered. He sat beside Anthony, shoulders straight, face calm, but inside he was boiling. Vanessa sat across from him, dressed like a celebrity, red lipstick, diamond necklace, no emotion on her face, just icy detachment. To James, she didn't look like the woman he married. She looked like someone playing a part, a role she had chosen after the lottery changed everything. The judge looked down at the file. "Mr. James Thomas is contesting the claim that he has no legal right to the winnings accumulated during the marriage. Is that correct?" Anthony stood. "Yes, Your Honor. The lottery ticket was purchased while they were married from a shared account, with both names on the slip. Therefore, by law, it's a shared marital asset." Vanessa's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, Ms. Vanessa Thomas has reason to believe that Mr. Thomas is after the money and was never truly invested in the marriage. She claims emotional abuse and manipulation." James flinched. Emotional abuse. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He had been the one trying, working late nights, cooking dinner, apologizing for arguments he didn't even start. And now he was the abuser. The judge turned to Vanessa. "Do you have evidence to support this claim?" Vanessa nodded confidently. "I have messages, Your Honor." She handed over screenshots, carefully selected texts out of context. One read, "If you walk out that door again, I don't know what I'll do." James remembered that night. She had been going out at 3 a.m. drunk with strange men. He begged her not to. He was worried. Not controlling, worried. But screenshots don't show fear, or love, or concern. They show what you want them to show. James leaned over to Anthony. "She's rewriting everything." Anthony nodded. "That's why we're going to tell the whole story." Then came James's turn to speak. He stood slowly, heart pounding, and looked straight at the judge. "I married Vanessa because I loved her, not because of her money. I worked multiple jobs while she was in school. I signed a prenup because her mother asked me to. I supported her dreams, celebrated her wins, and stayed loyal through everything." He paused. "When we won the lottery, I was happy, not because of the money, but because I thought we could finally breathe. I thought we'd grow closer. Instead, she pushed me out, changed the locks, froze our accounts, and now she says I'm dangerous." He looked over at Vanessa. "I would have died for you." The courtroom was silent. Vanessa looked down, pretending to read her nails. But there was a twitch, a crack in the mask. The judge took it all in. "This is a complicated matter," she said, "but I will not tolerate false accusations. Ms. Thomas, your husband has no history of violence, no police reports, no prior complaints. This restraining order appears reactionary, not factual." Vanessa stiffened. Then the judge dropped the first blow. Until this case is resolved, half the winnings will be frozen and inaccessible to either party. I will also require both sides to attend mediation. Outside the courtroom, Vanessa exploded. You think you're going to get half, she hissed. You're nothing, James. You're still the poor boy I met in college. James didn't flinch. And you're not the woman I married. She laughed. You think the court cares about your little speeches. I'll win, I always do. Anthony stepped between them. You just showed your real face in public. Thank you. Weeks passed. James moved into a small apartment. Not much but peaceful. He got a job at a local hardware store. Quiet work, honest, every day. He showed up early, left late, helped customers with kindness. Word spread fast. People began to recognize him from the case. Some offered support, others gossiped, but he didn't let it affect him. One day a woman approached him at the counter. You're James, right? He nodded cautiously. She smiled warmly. I just wanted to say, I believe you. I went through something like this. My ex made up lies about me to keep our house. It hurts, but you're standing tall. That's strength. Jean smiled for the first time in days. Thank you. That means more than you. No? Meanwhile, Anthony worked hard behind the scenes. He dug into Vanessa's bank records, her spending habits, and what he found shocked even him. In just 2 months, Vanessa had blown through $1.7 million on parties, clothes, jewelry, a private chef, and a leased yacht. She's burning through it like it's air, Anthony told James. Then came the bombshell. Vanessa had been secretly seeing someone, a man named Kyle, younger, flashy. He moved into the house just 3 weeks after James was kicked out. Anthony grinned. She's making this easy. They brought it all to court. The spending, the lies. The new boyfriend. The judge was not impressed. This case is no longer about a financial dispute, she said. It's about character. And, Mr. Thomas, based on what I've seen, you have more of it than your wife gave you credit for. The tide was turning, but Vanessa wasn't done. She called James one evening, her voice soft, almost trembling. James, can we talk? Just the two of us? He hesitated. Why now? But he agreed. They met at a cafe, public, quiet. She looked tired, not the glamorous woman from court. No makeup, no jewelry, just Vanessa. James, I messed up. He waited. I was scared of everything, of sharing, of losing control. And Kyle left me. James raised an eyebrow. So now you remember me. She nodded slowly. I want to settle. Out of court, 50-50. He sipped his coffee. Calm. No. She looked stunned. What do you mean no? That's what you wanted, right? He shook his head. I wanted respect. I wanted truth. But now, I want what I deserve, not what you think I should accept. He stood up. I'll see you in court, Vanessa. And he walked away, because James wasn't the broken man from the porch anymore. He was a man who learned that dignity is worth more than money. The courthouse was packed. News outlets had picked up the case. Headlines read, Wife wins lottery. Then sues husband for half. Love lost in luxury. The divorce that shocked the nation. Gold digger or betrayed wife. Courtroom drama heats up. Everyone had an opinion. But James didn't care anymore. He walked into that courtroom like a man who had nothing to lose but everything to prove, wearing a plain suit, no fancy watch. No lawyer-fueled arrogance, just honesty and the weight of everything he'd endured. Vanessa arrived in a fur coat, trying to send a message. But the courtroom wasn't listening to fashion. It was listening to facts. And Anthony had facts. He presented a full breakdown of the lottery ticket, bought with a shared debit card, registered under both names, entered into a joint lottery account they both created months before. Then came the big moment. He showed Vanessa's bank records, shopping sprees, secret trips with Kyle, and text messages complaining about James before the lottery win. The judge leaned forward. Ms. Thomas, why would you claim emotional abuse with no medical reports? no police involvement, and contradictory behavior suggesting you were already preparing to remove your husband from your life. E for the lottery, Vanessa stammered. I was under stress. The judge narrowed her eyes. We are, but we don't rewrite history. Then she turned to James. Mr. Thomas, I've reviewed everything, and I believe you. This court rules that you are legally entitled to 50% of the lottery winnings, as well as compensation for damages caused by the false restraining order. Gasps echoed across the room. Vanessa looked like she'd been slapped, but James didn't smile. He didn't cheer. He just breathed. After everything, justice had come not through revenge but through truth. He left the courthouse to a sea of microphones, reporters yelling his name. But he didn't stop. He just wanted peace. He returned to his small apartment, changed into sweatpants, sat on the couch and finally exhaled. Then the phone rang. Unknown number. He'd picked up. Hello, a deep, smooth voice responded. Mr. James Thomas. Yes. This is Christopher Dawes. I'm the CEO of Dawes Hardware and Manufacturing. I heard about your case, and I saw something in you that I value: resilience, patience, integrity. James blinked. Thank you, sir. I'd like to offer you a position in our executive training program. Full benefits, 6 figures to start. We believe in men like you. James almost dropped the phone. But why me? The man chuckled. Because anyone who can fight lies with class and still keep his head held high deserves more than sympathy. He deserves opportunity. James sat there stunned, a poor kid from nowhere. A husband thrown out after a lottery win. A man the world laughed at. Now a man with purpose, with peace, and a second chance. That night, he looked up at the ceiling and whispered, "Thank you, God. You let me lose what I didn't need to gain what I truly deserve." And he meant it.